Wonderful people of the internet, and obviously some of you horrible ones as well. I hope you are very well, and welcome back to episode number 12 of the Lifestyle Lab podcast, where I am going to talk to you about why I just really don't like calorie targets. I don't. Today is a Saturday, and I'm having a really good day. A really good day. We took a walk to Starbucks earlier. There is a Starbucks just down the road from where I am right now, which is my mum and dad's house, in Sainsbury's, which I didn't actually know was there. And the staff were amazing. They were really, really good. Shout out Lisa at Starbucks, that was her name. But for a while, whenever I'd gone into Starbucks, they'd stopped. You know how when they took your order, they asked you what your name was? I felt like Starbucks started to stop doing that, and I don't know why, because I actually thought it was a really, really nice touch. Every time I went into Starbucks and they asked me my name and they called out my name for the order and stuff like that, felt special. Even though they did it with everyone. And I suppose that's kind of the point, isn't it? It's maybe a little bit of a marketing thing, but yeah, I felt like they stopped doing that for a while. So shout out to Lisa at the Starbucks in Sainsbury's, because when I went in and she asked me my name, she asked me how my day was. It was really nice. So thank you, Lisa. It's brightened up my Saturday. So calories, right? There's a chance that you're listening to this podcast because, one, you've dieted before, two, you've tried to diet before, and you've either been successful with it or you've not been successful with it, or you've been successful with it up until a point when you've no longer been successful with it. And during that time, you've probably heard of calories, right? And if you've not heard of calories, then where have you been? I'm not going to assume that you know about calories. So essentially what calories are is they are a unit of energy. They're a unit of measurement, basically. Like we measure water in milliliters, or we measure weight in kilos, stone, and pounds. That is how we measure energy, calories. Or we measure the energy in food is calories, okay? And again, like I said, if you're listening to this, there's probably a good chance that you've dieted before, tried to diet before with a lot of success until you've had a lot of unsuccess with it, or you've just been in general unsuccessful with your diet. And there's probably going to have been a couple of things that you've tried. One of them being a fad diet. Now, what I mean by a fad diet is I mean things like Slimming World, like the keto diet, like fasting, like Herbalife, for example. A diet that focuses on a certain nutritional construct. Okay. Now, there'll be loads of people listening to this who have probably tried Slimming World or tried Herbalife, okay, with some amount of success. Because here's the thing with fad diets, right? They do work. They do actually work, and it's not because they don't work because they are reinventing the wheel. Although some of them make out that they are reinventing the wheel, they're not. Their approaches are based on calorie deficits. For example, with Herbalife, what they do is they reduce a meal that you would normally have during the day with a meal replacement shake, which is lower in calories. Slimming World focus on the SIN system, which doesn't demonize, but has a certain allocation of SINs dedicated to foods that are of higher calories, encouraging you to then avoid foods that are higher in calories, rightly or wrongly. It's not that the SIN system is perfect. It's not that it's amazing. It's not that it's this thing that's reinventing the wheel. It's just they've created this SIN system to have you avoid certain foods that are slightly higher in calories. The same with the keto diet. For example, the reason that that works is because they say that a higher fat diet is it encourages ketosis, which is the burning of body fat. Not entirely true, but what they do is they focus on a high fat diet, which involves you reducing the amount of carbohydrates that you eat with a moderate amount of protein. Again, all they've done there is just said try to avoid carbohydrates as much as you can. And if you turn around and say avoid an entire food group, there's a strong chance that you're going to drop calories as a result of that. So with every fad diet that you've ever tried, it is a certain nutritional construct that focuses on calories in some form or of another. And they do work until they don't, because for the large majority of people, they're far too restrictive. And because they're too restrictive, they don't work, because no one wants to feel like they're avoiding certain foods. No one wants to feel like they can't have something. People want that freedom with their diet to not necessarily have everything that they want, but they want to be able to have what they want in moderation. Okay. And it's the same with calorie trackers. Now, again, if you're listening to this, there's probably a good chance that you've heard of MyFitnessPal or NutriCheck, and that you've given these calorie counting apps a go. Now, do I think they are 100% accurate? No, absolutely not. But they're as accurate a method as you are ever going to get. But the reason that they don't work is, again, the focus on calorie targets. And I think calorie targets are far too restrictive. Obviously, once you've put your weight in there, once you've put your age in there, how active you are, it recommends a certain calorie target based on how much weight you want to lose per week. And the calorie target that it gives you, based on the information that you've given it, I find is far too restrictive. And when people are aiming for that number, and they're maybe even just slightly over that number, it causes a lot of discomfort. It causes a lot of feelings of failure. I think it puts a hell of a lot of pressure on people, pressure that people don't really want to achieve the fat loss result that they want. And after a couple of times of going over that number, I think people lose faith in being able to hit that target. They binge, they overeat, because they don't want that pressure of having to stick to a singular number. Okay, now what I do with my clients is slightly different, and we go for a more flexible dieting approach. And what we do is we actually focus on calorie ranges. Now, the reason that we focus on calorie ranges, it's called the flexi framework system. And the reason we focus on calorie ranges is because when you think of the maintenance amount of calories that you need to consume, is the amount of calories that you need to eat in order to maintain weight, in order for your body to perform the necessary tasks that it needs to do, like digestion, regulate temperature, brain function, all of these really, really important things. So if you were to sit and do nothing all day, your body will still burn calories, because it still needs to exist. It still needs to live. It still needs to operate, okay? And that is what we would call, and then, what you do is, when you have that number, you add a little bit on top of that, because people don't live just sitting on their arse all day, okay? They do move. They get to the office. They sit down. They get up for lunch. They move around. And then what you do is you add some calories on top of that to account for that movement. And that is what we would call your maintenance amount of calories. The amount of calories that your body needs in order to maintain its weight, its functions throughout the day, to maintain enough energy, to move, etc., etc. And how the flexi framework works is, because fat loss is incurred through a calorie deficit, we need to be sitting just ever so slightly lower than your maintenance amount of calories to induce fat loss long term. Okay. Now, depending on how motivated you are, you might want to go a little bit more aggressively into a deficit. That's usually where people go wrong because they realize how much it actually takes to stick to that target that they've set themselves. Okay. Now, with the flexi framework, it takes your maintenance, has you sit below just your maintenance ever so slightly, but gives you the option to go further into that deficit, should you choose. Because here's the thing when it comes to living life, some days you feel hungrier than others for literally no rhyme or reason. If it's been a stressful day at work, or depending on where you are in your menstrual cycle, coming into your luteal phase when progesterone's a little bit higher, generally speaking, women will feel a little bit hungrier. Again, like I said, you've had a stressful day at work, you've had a long day, or you got a shit night's sleep the night before. Hunger appetite's just a little bit higher than usual. There's nothing worse than having a calorie target and thinking that you can't eat above that, especially if you've decided to go very, very aggressively into your deficit, which some calorie targets do, which some calorie trackers give you based on the information that you've given it, based on some fad diets do, because again, some of them are just way too restrictive and have you sacrifice way more than you actually want to. So what the flexi framework does is allow for you to operate within a range based on your hunger appetite levels on any given day. So what we'll do is we will have you sit just below the maintenance amount of calories and give you the option to go a little bit further into your deficit, giving you a range to operate in based on your hunger levels on any given day, and giving you the flexibility to approach your nutrition however you like to. Again, what it can do is it can give you the opportunity, again, if you feel a little bit hungry on any given day, to add a little bit more food to your meals, or have another meal entirely, or make some room for some of the sweet stuff as well. If you're like me, I'm actually a bit more of a savoury man, to be fair. I love crisps. I love a packet of crisps. Like McCoy's are legit my go-to. So to be able to have a few more calories for things like crisps sounds like absolute music to my ears. But again, sometimes there's days where we don't feel that hungry for literally no rhyme or reason. It could be a slightly long day. We could have our head in the books when it comes to work, etc. Maybe we're working on a project at work, or you've had a long day spent with the family where you've been out and about and not really had that time to sit down and eat. And you sit down and you think to yourself, God, I don't actually even feel that hungry. You've got the opportunity within that range to eat a little bit lower, should you choose to. But then, like I said, on other days when you do feel a little bit hungrier, you've got that opportunity to eat a little bit more. But because you've got that range, you're still operating within your deficit just based on your hunger levels instead, and not what a calorie target is giving you. It's too rigid. It's too restricted, in my opinion. And what some fad diets tell you to aim for, again, too restrictive, because a lot of them actually involve you having to cut out entire food groups. And the last thing people want is to feel like they're having to restrict themselves of things that they maybe actually quite enjoy for the sake of fat loss. So with the flexi framework, you can still very much enjoy the foods that you enjoy eating without having to sacrifice too much, and still get the fat loss result that you want, which ultimately I think is what everyone wants, is to be able to have that flexibility with their nutrition, to have almost what it is that they want in moderation and still achieve the fat loss result that they want. So if you're listening to this and the flexi framework sounds like music to your ears, send me a message. I will send you it across for free. I've been using it with my clients for years now with a massive amount of success, because a lot of my clients have families and are very, very sociable people. So don't ever feel like they're having to sacrifice on what is actually the most important thing to them, and that is spending time with their family, and that is spending time with their friends, which usually involves to some degree food and drink, and to be able and to sacrifice and almost on occasions completely cut out the things that motivate you the most, the things that you want to show up for most, is no way to go about living your life. So if you've tried dieting before sticking to calorie targets, trying a fad diet, and the flexi framework sounds like music to your ears, send me a message. Like I said, I will legit send you this for free. I've been using it with my clients for years, and it will show you that working within a calorie range is going to give you much more flexibility for you to choose what it is that you want to eat and drink and still get the fat loss result that you want. So, like I said, drop me a message. And yeah, like I said, to have that flexibility is just really what I think everyone wants. So, if anyone has any questions off the back of anything I've said, whether it's about fad diets, whether it's about calorie trackers, whether it's about calories in general, if you want the flexi framework, send me a message. I will send you it across. Likewise, if you feel like coaching would be of benefit to you to help you get the fat loss result that you want, send me a message, send in an application. I would be more than happy to consider having you part of our team to help you get on top of your fat loss result. And if it doesn't kill you, subscribe as well. That does go a long way. Check the bio below, check the description below. I'm also on other social medias, and a follow there would be absolutely amazing. Please support the channel. It goes a long way. I am really, really enjoying doing these podcasts. So yeah, a follow, a like would really go a long way. So thank you very much for listening. And enjoy the rest of your weekends. Or whenever you listen to this. Could be during the week. Enjoy the rest of your day.